I be bumping that. Bumping that. Bumping that, 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 bumping that. Me just always bumping that. You know, and if you're not always bumping that, you're not a Charli XCX. You're not a Charli XCX fan. Damn, maybe I've been bumping that too hard. Maybe I'm bumping it too much. Maybe I should cut back on bumping that. Charli XCX is a musician that I was introduced to this year, or so I thought I was. Honestly, Charli has always been around producing many major hits in the pop ethos, dominating the charts, yet somehow never maintaining or achieving the cultural success she has this year. Brat was the album of the summer, and for a good reason, many of which I don't need to say. What I would rather like to talk about is how Brat is Charli's most mainstream breakout success of an album, yet it is certainly her most experimental, truly leaning into the genre in which Charli has played with before, but has never really delved head over heels into, at least not to the extent that Brat is. This is important since Charli has very reliably had a pop hit in the charts and has dominated the charts even to some extent that are exactly the sound in which dominates the charts. Pop. But the thing is with pop is that, as Charli has said herself, pop is a genre that is all-encompassing, as music itself is. And for someone who is clearly as attuned with the general pop genre and or general art form, it's no surprise that she was able to make multiple pop smash hits in her career. And yet none have managed to touch the success that we've seen Brat reach, which is shocking when you consider Brat takes inspiration from more tightened communities of music, and very limited mainstream access from these communities has been seen. As a music lover myself, I greatly enjoy seeing unconventional music break the mainstream glass ceiling, since that's the point of music, and that there is no right or wrong way to enjoy it. The success of Brat does that by giving Charli XCX icon status, elevating her and others, and specifically breaking the norms for music as kind of a whole. Brat summer may have ended, and at the recording of this, it's the end of Brat autumn leading into Brinter. And I think that way was how Charli chose it to go on her music. The concept of a remix album is fascinating, and in her own words, builds upon the original art. So let's discuss Brat, the culture it created, specific sounds and songs, and how the remix album is the perfect way to carry on the success of such an experimental and successful album. Now, I have been on the internet since essentially its birth, and I have witnessed anyone and everyone can have an opinion online and can create. After all, you're watching someone talk about an album that you probably have not given nearly as much attention to that I have. We can all say whatever we want, but that has come with both a benefit and become our own downfall in some ways. Often we see musicians be very cautious about anything being said. Even Charli on this album, an album that is dedicated to honesty, keeps details close to her chest and or doesn't openly state who a song is about. What she doesn't do is the often overused trope of having hidden meaning behind lyrics and overcomplicating music. Charli says exactly how she feels and doesn't hide it behind any hidden lyrics. Yes, there are 100% more subtle implications and meanings behind some lyrics, such as bumpin' that, but the majority of the album is meant to be an open and honest discussion Charli is having with the listener. She removes herself from the standard that artists have been saying what they mean behind more appealing or attractive terminology and subtle hints at what she means, and just simply says it. Even the song titles are indicative of what the songs are actually about. Some examples consist of Sympathy is a Knife, a song that's all about how caring too much can be dangerous to both yourself and others around you. Everything is Romantic, a song about how even though you might be in a terrible place, you can, based on your perspective, change that and make everything seem a little bit more romantic. And Rewind, a song that is about reminiscing and wishing to go back to a memory, or to rewind the clock to go back to that moment in which you cherish so deeply. This isn't to say every song on the album is what its title says, but every song on the album does have a title that does simply say what it is. It's both conceptual and honest. Charli's modern contemporaries and people in which she has been compared to due to the similar release time schedules of their separate albums, such as Taylor Swift, are known for her lyricism and whimsy in which she ingrains in her songs, something Charli completely throws out the window, but doesn't miss the important parts of writing music and whimsy and lyricism. Writing more on-the-nose lyrics, but making her music say something. And riding that fine line of stating something outright and letting the music speak for itself. Something her fellow pop icon has attempted and fell flat on her face attempting. Katy Perry has attempted to make more girl boss-esque and or songs about femininity and womanhood and how the world is a woman's world, but misses on all the subtlety and nuance that is required to make a song about that, and specifically about a woman's experience. Charli's Girl So Confusing does everything Katy Perry has attempted, but hits the mark dead on. It portrays the complexity of female friendships and how there are so many layers in friendship among women, referencing specific friendships for herself and making a song incredibly personal, but also speaking to an experience that is universal for women. Not to mention, adding the very woman the song is about, Lorde, onto the remix, it creates a full circle moment where we, the listeners, get to hear an honest perspective from both parties of this friendship. Girl So Confusing takes two stories and combines them and gives us a very clear narrative of these women's friendships, while also allowing us to imagine our own Girl So Confusing moments and or people in our lives. Yet this isn't limited to just her more personal and emotional songs on the album. Charli manages to ride this fine line of the music speaking for itself and also just stating it in the lyrics in much more music-orientated songs. The songs that you're meant to bump in that to. If we learned anything from the success of Beyonce's album Renaissance, it's that people need to dance and have fun, especially during times of hardship and turmoil. At face value, that's all Charli XCX Brat album appears to be. Club and party music, and although yes, every track on this list would belong or feel at home in a club or party, there is more in depth to be discussed, as you've seen and will see in this video. Where the true party and or club songs come in is where we get a more signature Charli honesty we see throughout this album. Something we have often seen in the charts is a more subtle openness to this concept of non-child friendly storylines and narratives. Music often has to be censored for a good reason. This results in many musicians making references to sexuality and substances without openly saying it. Yet again, Charli throws this to the wind in this album. We see this in songs such as Talk Talk, both the original version but also specifically the Troye Sivan version, the remix, where the entire song is dedicated to infatuation. Not a love song, but a song about lust and infatuation and being head over heels with someone and where those emotions take you in the night. The sheer lust and admiration is the concept and subject of the song, not just the sexual act itself. It plays on themes such as hearing them talk and think about you is enough to just rev you up, making sheer explicit mention of all the manners of lust and infatuation one can feel toward the person. Sexuality and open sexuality is a form of liberation, and Charli and Troye hit that concept on the nose. Sexual liberation that you feel when you're with someone on more than just a lust-filled tangent, but also touches on the infatuation that comes along with that quick one-night connection, something many songs that also focus on sexual liberation tend to miss. We see more of this personal and emotional liberation in the song Spring Breakers, which is truly a song all about partying. Feeling like you're that it girl and living in that it girl moment. Unlike previous songs on the track that also relate to that it girl moment, this song specifically relates to the feeling itself. It's not about you feeling yourself, it's about the feeling of feeling yourself, in itself, if you will. The feeling you have when all the social norms are dropped and you can truly enjoy yourself without feeling the prying eyes of others. A moment where you'll look crazy and outrageous, but you will love living in that moment. Liberation and living in the moment is so core to this album. It's meant to be honest, both with Charli, as she critiques herself, but also gives herself credit. Charli spends much of this album being the judge and jury of both society, the industry, as well as herself. Much of the songs are dedicated to putting a mirror up to all three of these concepts in bad ways, but also in good ways. 360 is dedicated to how Charli is, at her core, an artist. She will be creating art. She has mentioned in many interviews how important it is to her to create art that is meaningful and not just music. 360 is her talking about how she knows she is one of a kind. There is no other artist like her and no other artist that could create Brat, hence the success of the album. Charli has spent so much of her career being a part of this industry, not just as a background artist, but as an artist that has had massive hits and has often not been given the credit she deserves. Even by me making a video all about her, I admittedly didn't really realize how many Charli XCX songs I knew until really diving into her career. So she rightfully gives herself that credit in the song 360, about how she has been here and she will be here. Everywhere you look, she will be. She's always here. Where 360 is a two-way mirror where Charli is looking at herself, and looking at us through the glass, Apple is a mirror in which the viewer is looking at Charli through the glass. A song dedicated to critiquing a parental figure in Charli's life about all of the mistakes they made and how wrong she felt by those choices. Yet, Charli still spends time acknowledging that she sees herself in that parental figure. She doesn't like that she has to admit that, and that they are a part of her, no matter how rotten to the core they are. Apple is dedicated to reconciling with those feelings, to understanding those complex emotions. And then we flip the mirror back to the industry and media, where we, as the listener, and Charli get to look through the glass and look at the industry in which she is involved in and the heinousness of it, via the song Guess. Guess spends its entire runtime toying with the listener, insisting that they want to know what Charli has going on, while also asking the question, do you want to? It's a song that embodies the idea of having your cake and eating it too. Charli surrenders herself and her body to the critique of the listener and audience, something most pop stars are forced into doing unwillingly. She is offering herself to you, but when it's on a spoon and fed to you, it's not nearly as appealing. Rather, it draws back to that concept of liberation, since if people will guess the color of my underwear, why not just show them what my underwear is? It makes those who always concern themselves with others uncomfortable and comforts those who feel the gazing eyes of those around them. And then all of these songs get remastered and repurposed into an entire new album of remixes. One of my personal favorite aspects of Brat is not even the album itself, it's the remix album. The concept of a remix album is certainly not new, nor is it groundbreaking on Charli's end, but it is still a fun refresher to the album releases in which we are so used to nowadays. The mold of your favorite artist releasing an album yearly or a song every few months, never exactly changing the formula, has gotten stale. Honestly, many of the current top dogs in the music industry and greater pop industry, if you will, have become quite boring for at least me personally. The Brat remix album is not technically an entire new album, but it also manages to be at the exact same time, and that's the beauty of it. It lifts up or includes artists that are drastically out of Charli XCX's traditional corner of music and the industry as a whole, and it builds upon already solid foundation of the original Brat album. What makes the album even more impactful to me is its release time, and its release time choice specifically. Just as Brat, the album is beginning to fall off for mainly listeners and general mainstream success, we released Brat again, but with a much more different concept and perspective behind it. Some songs being drastically changed narratively, and some remaining the same but having a different spin or voice or light or sound added to it. Some of the remix songs are my favorite to listen to, and some are my least favorite between the two options in which we have, and two versions that exist on both of these albums. It allows Brat to be evolved and innovative on itself, an already very innovative album. Maybe the remixed version isn't your favorite song, because it's not as good as the original, but for someone it might have made them fall in love with that song. For me, I liked Talk Talk, but I fell in love with Talk Talk Troye Sivan's remix. Whereas I already loved Apple, and I really don't care that much for the Japanese house version / remix. Both of these are true to me, but maybe you feel the exact opposite of me, and that's kind of the point. Brat is art, it is subjective, and Charli knows this. That's why I love the remix album so much, and why I admire Charli for her artistic mind. The remix album is made to build upon her and elevate it for herself. The remix album is made for her to build upon herself and her own work and to elevate it beyond what it already was, just for her and for those who enjoy it, and for those who enjoy the newer versions of her previous songs. But it also is there to remind those who love the originals that they do in fact still exist and aren't going anywhere. The new songs do not negate their previous existence, and rather the album has always been about how there can be more than one thing true in one moment. Brat is a masterclass of subverting pop and the industry standards for what it means to release an album. In the end, this video was a selfish video about an album that I love. It was entirely personal, but I had a fun break, I figured, between the very poignant and political, if you will, videos I've been releasing. Hope you enjoyed. Regardless, be sure to like and subscribe and bumping that on the comments. I don't know, something like that. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe. Goodbye. Bumping that. Brooke, if you're watching this, I'm bumping that. I've been bumping that. And if you're not Brooke, why the fuck are you still here? Get the fuck out.